Welcome to the Bible Breakdown. It's a black man and woman in America who no longer identify as believers. This show contains adult languages, themes, and isn't meant for children. As black people, we respect the history of the black church in America, but its current state is massively abusive, and we think the Bible might be part of the problem. Listen and let us know what you think. Peace.
Okay, so this week we were supposed to start Judges, but we decided to interrupt this, like the podcast time continuum, and talk about what everyone's been talking about, which is the big holiday fight, Katt Williams on Club Shay Shay. I'm Katt on what's usually Bible Breakdown.
And I'm TK.
Hi, TK. How are you, sir?
We'll get into it. So I feel like a lot of these things are going to spiral into subsets of conversation.
Do you think so? It was so many traumas whipped up into one.
I mean, as I told you off mic, I'm just tired of the hypocrisy and the delusionalness of women. And
as I've told you, I have been tired. Well, you said just the bullshit earlier. You didn't say specifically women. I'm just tired of all the bullshit from all the genders.
Yeah, I'm tired of men too, but I'm tired. I think there's this.
But to be fair, you only sleep with women, correct?
That is correct, and
so there's going to be like a specific like frustration around that.
Well, I'm coming to what I guess I will call the dating paradox for now.
You could, you know how you could solve it? Like how Katt Williams did, by maybe, getting mad at people who are at where you want to be and just saying that they got there by doing a bunch of gay stuff.
Is that what you took from that?
Yep.
Okay, well that's... I feel like...
He said a lot of stuff.
He said what he felt like he needed to say. That's all. That's really my take on it. I don't know none of these people.
It reminds me of like
care about them.
The reason why I think it's important, for one, because it's one of these stories that made it to everybody. Generally, that doesn't happen because everyone's algorithms are so curated. But to me, it's interesting that this is something that was so widely disseminated and resonates so well. I think for one, because it is very similar to sort of family infighting, which is so popular at the holidays. People are like, well, why is he doing it now? Katt Williams is about to tour. It looks like this is probably going to sell his tour out because everyone knows he's going to be talking shit, and people love talking shit. But what I don't love is spreading disinformation, because I think it's very reductive, because he did say, like, especially when he was going after Kevin Hart, that a lot of the roles that he passed on that Kevin took, he didn't do because it was too gay. Or he would have to wear a dress or something to that effect. Like he kept saying over and over again, he's not homophobic, but then he would scoff and laugh at anything that would call him into question. And it's not to say, like, he's basically saying that you have to be degraded or sort of emasculated as a black man in Hollywood if you have to be successful. But I think one of the problems we have in our community is that we see homosexuality as emasculating. Like, men who are homosexual are still men. And
I have a take for that too, because I had an experience this weekend. But go ahead.
No, let's hear it.
I was out on a date, and she just was like, "Hey, I just want to ask you something. I don't want you to get upset." And I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "No, like seriously, this is gonna." I was like, "It's because it's gonna change the tone of the conversation." I was like, "Go ahead." She was like, "Have you ever done anything with a man? Like, have you ever had sex with a man or done it?" And I was like, "No." And then she was like, "What? No, like it's fine. You can tell me. Like it's okay. Like I'm not like." And I was like, "No, I haven't." And she was like, "Okay, like for real. Like have you?" And I was like, "I have never done anything sexual with another man." And she was like, "So you never even like thought about it or anything like that?" And I was like, "No, like." I was like, I can look at a guy and be like, he's a good looking guy, but I don't feel sexually attracted to any man. Like that just,
did you ask her the same question?
Yeah, we did talk about that. She doesn't like women. Okay. But I brought up, I was like, first of all, this is I was like, you're not the only woman that asked me this. I was like, is there something about me? I was like, because I keep getting asked this by women. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is it? Like, what is it? Like, do I seem like a gay nigga? Like, I don't understand. And then she's like, no, it's not that. It's not anything like that. And so then she brought up a situation similar to the Insecure episode where Molly stopped fucking with the old boy because he had a singular
he got his dick sucked
sexual
by a dude.
And so we started talking about that. And then she was like, well, you know, just men, like, they be on the DL, so, you know, you just got to ask and stuff like that. And I said, so do you think that makes somebody less of a man? And she was like, no, I don't think that. And I was like, so what about this bothers you? And then she was like, I mean, like, I just don't want to be out with my guy and, like, we both find another man attractive. I don't know, man. She just didn't give me a strong sense of her why, to where I had to just be like, this is rooted in homophobia, I guess.
Well, it's ultimately rooted in misogyny, I feel like, because we don't flip
That's
out
the word I was
when,
gonna
for
use.
instance, because he's trying to make it, to me, what bothered me about the Katt Williams stuff is that everyone he was going after was more successful than him, and he was trying to make it sound like the reason he's calling them out, he's like, I'm not a hater, I don't even know how to hate, I'm with God, I can't hate. And so he
more
was
successful is
saying,
subjective, but go ahead.
financially more successful.
Is Cedric? I don't know if Cedric is.
Cedric's doing well. So, because the reason he brought up Cedric, because he was on Club Shay Shay a couple weeks ago.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, when's the last thing Cedric did? I don't know, so we would have to fact check. But I just feel like Cedric is probably in the same tier as Katt Williams.
Maybe with touring, but I feel like this is what I'm going to get to, right? He has more commercial appeal, and he's basically saying that all of these dudes are losers, and that's why he has to call them out. Because I didn't like that language, because it reminded me of Trump a little bit.
Faison too. I can make an argument.
I had to remember who he was. I wasn't even sure of who he was. So I'm not really going to include him in the...
That proves my point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to include him in the conversation.
You said all the people he talked about. So I just want to...
Fair enough. I mean, if I had to guess, though, he probably is doing better than him financially. And this is why, okay? Because I do believe he is on drugs. Like, I know he said, I've never done a hard drug. I've been like... I've been like, please define hard drugs. Because everyone's like, well, he said he never did hard drugs. It's like... Whitney also went on TV and said crack is whack when saying she didn't, never did crack. It's like addicts lie. Like that's kind of their thing. If you've ever dealt with anyone with any addiction issues, there's some lying going on. Anyway, what I didn't like was him when he was specifically talking about Kevin Hart, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, Ricky Smiley. Those are all people you can very comfortably say are doing better than him financially. So going after them was kind of strange to me because to me it looked like hate. And he's saying like they're ahead because they were willing to do stuff I wasn't willing to do because I have too much dignity. Now, when I've seen the stuff that Katt Williams has been arrested for, it doesn't scream dignity. Can I say that? Secondly, this is something that's very common, and this is why I think it's a popular narrative and why people are championing him as like this underdog. People like to think, well, I don't have this and I don't have that because those people were willing to do gay stuff, or those people were willing to join the Illuminati, or they were willing to dress like a bitch. You know what I mean? To make white people laugh.
That is an argument for that, though.
I've heard it, but it's still rooted in misogyny. Like if putting on a dress is humiliating to a man, but putting on pants is not humiliating to a woman, it's because we view one with respect and one with derision.
So I don't think, first of all, I don't think putting on a dress in just that act alone emasculates you. I think that often in the situations that Katt is talking about.
Wait, is emasculation possible? Because we don't really have a term for effemination. Like no one can take away your femininity, but it seems like someone can take away your masculinity. So
that itself might be rooted in misogyny, but for the sake of this conversation,
well, that's why I'm bringing it up.
I do think it's possible, actually. Yes, because I think by nature, man is competitive. Most men, a lot of them, are very competitive, and to win over somebody else in mentally, physically, whatever, it's rooted in that dominance. So that could be a form of emasculation. And to put somebody in a situation where it makes, to me, it also mostly aligns with putting somebody in a situation where they feel silly or stupid or
so why not just call it, humiliating? Like, why does it have to be emasculating? To me, because I think putting that, because I take your point, like what it takes, naturally to compete sexually for men, it is very competitive. But to be, and it's easier for women, like you said, to get laid. Like it's, but because we have competing goals as men and women, like there's still competition. It's expressed differently.
Yeah, because y'all women's competition is typically I'm trying to become somebody's partner. Well, that too, but I'm also trying to. But the visual only lends to the quote unquote protection, safety, security that you would get by being with such a man, and so therefore. But that's what I was trying to say. The other side to that is, as a man, I could fuck a girl, but I know like I'm not gonna wife you, and it don't necessarily mean like she's not valuable. It just means that like that would not be the type of traits I'm looking for to make somebody my wife or life partner. Mm-hmm. But I also don't subscribe to what other men do and try to treat this person as disposable or like I don't do that.
Right. So to me, I guess what I'm saying is for men, specifically black men, because I feel like that was sort of the target here. The accusation that these black comics he brought up need to be taken down a peg because what do you think when he's saying like, because a lot of the articles that are being thrown at me videos being thrown at me on YouTube are Katt Williams exposes Hollywood plant Kevin Hart, and I'm not even sure what that means. Like he's a plant.
Plant means that the industry essentially was financing you. It's. I think you'll understand it more. It's like when Elon Musk tries to say he's self-made, but in reality he came from a rich family and he bought his way into companies rather than actually founding.
So what part of Kevin Hart's story is Katt saying
that was the first time I ever heard somebody say Kevin Hart is a plant. But per the interview Katt said was that Kevin Hart said he made his bones in comedy on the East Coast. At the same time, he was getting movie deals on the West Coast, and he was saying, how could that be possible? In my mind, immediately, I was thinking, well, the nigga couldn't got on a plane, but that's exactly, I don't know. I didn't understand that completely.
Yeah, that didn't make sense. You know where I knew it was about to be some mess and how, because we were talking earlier about my vast experience with fuck nigga logic, basically.
Girl math. Boy math. That's the new term now.
I'm just calling it fuck nigga math because that's non-gendered. And
fuck nigga. Okay, go ahead.
Niggas
are men typically.
Generally, but nigga can I call women niggas all the time.
I mean, yeah, it's just one of those.
But I know
terms.
Usually it's bitches, right? Is niggas and bitches. But yeah, let's just some fuck bitch ass nigga logic, okay? I've heard a lot of it over the years, so I'm usually kind of aware when it's about to start happening. And when he made the first refusal that he hasn't done any hard drugs, basically nothing other than alcohol and marijuana, he was like, you're not going to find any drug dealer who said they've sold me drugs. Like trying to I'm like, yeah, dude, like no drug. That's not how drug dealers work. Like, and yeah, I was like, okay, this is already something a fuck nigga would tell me when he's trying to sleep with me. You know what I mean? Like men, like seriously, like men will say all kinds of stuff because sometimes if they just say enough stuff in a row, it works. Like that's what I said. It just feels a little like Trump. And then the other thing he said was he's like, no studios have ever lost money working with me. And that was the part that was to me a little curious because studios love making money. Like if you've made money for them, they will figure out a way to make it work short of you leaving bruises on a white woman. Like, they will find a way to work with you. So to me, that wasn't very truthful. And even Kevin Hart brought that up. He was like, look, I've set stuff up for you and you didn't show up. And he's like, I'm saying that because, and this is why I don't set you up for shit anymore, because I have a reputation to protect. And to me, that sounded like, if we were having the family fight, I'd have to guess, like, I'd be on the side of Kevin because he's the one at least keeping a job. And Katt reminds me of, like, the favorite son who mama won't admit is on drugs.
That was deep. I think with Katt, first of all, he said he not on drugs. That nigga was doing a lot of moving. I don't know if you are, like, for real. And that's, I think, one thing I realize. I like Katt Williams.
I do too, by the way.
Generally, like, casually. But I just never was like
forever.
I was never a big Katt Williams, like, oh yeah, Katt Williams. Like, I never was that person.
You never bought tickets?
And so, no. And then, I can't remember if I saw interviews of him before, but the way the nigga was moving with his hands and rocking in the seat and shit, I was like, this seems like drug addict behavior to me. To me, I don't know. Maybe the nigga was just nervous or he got bad nerves or whatever. But to me, I was just like, this seems like something's off with him. But all right, whatever. Also, on top of that,
it wasn't giving weed. You're
saying.
right. I don't know what performances you're talking about,
Yeah.
And it wasn't giving weed, and it wasn't giving alcohol either, because both of those are depressants, right?
Yeah.
Weed is an upper and downer, right?
Yeah, depending on.
It's not an amphetamine for sure. Because he was sweating and moving a lot. Remember when Whitney Houston went on TV and said crack is whack?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry. I'm older. I'm sorry. There was a famous interview that I want to say Whitney Houston did with Diane Sawyer. And Diane Sawyer was like, there's been accusations that, like, you're on drugs and you've done crack. And she was like, let me tell you something. Like, she said stuff like, I may have dabbled or whatever, but I do not do crack. Crack is cheap. Crack is whack. And it was like, okay.
Like he kept saying, I don't know why liars lie. Same could be applied to
I know why liars lie.
Nigga was saying, okay, well, go ahead.
Oh, to get their way. Like, the truth isn't serving them.
Well, yeah.
Like, liars lie because the truth doesn't serve them.
Okay, well, sure. Yeah, it's actually really simple when you put it like that. But I was gonna say, like, when niggas start saying shit like, "Oh, I smoke more than Snoop," and I can run a 4.4 and da da da, or I read 3,000
like
books.
That, you notice he didn't say I could pass a drug test. He said I could run a 4.4. Like, that doesn't prove anything. A lot of people with substance abuse issues can do that. The other thing I thought was interesting too, where he was saying, like, you wouldn't let any athletes who juice come on here and talk about real athletes. I was like, hold up, all these niggas juice. You know, Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp didn't have anything to say to those.
Shannon didn't juice.
Huh?
Shannon didn't juice.
Okay, a lot of them juice.
Because I feel like,
here's the thing.
Hold on, I feel like there's a common misconception, because I actually watched a video where they broke down steroid use, and it's just like anything else. It's levels to this shit. So when we think of steroids, we think of niggas big and buff, like Arnold Schwarzenegger ass motherfuckers who, like, took the needle, and then when they get older, their bodies all deformed and shit like that. Old wrestler type niggas. Like, we think of shit like that. There's other type of steroids where it actually helps you to heal faster.
Recovery.
And shit, like, and recover faster.
Keep in mind, I'm in favor of all of them.
I'm not.
I think you should be allowed to do. You're already doing something crazy unhealthy to your body. Football is not good for you. You might as well be able to do whatever drugs you want to do. These niggas are gladiators. Let them have what they want. with a doctor. Like they're under a lot of this stuff is under doctor supervision. Like it's already just.
I'm not in.
It's already crazy bad.
You should be able to do what you want to do. You should be able to do what you want to do. But the issue that becomes, there's some area in there. I don't really know how to verbalize this, but it airs into. I mean, I guess we want to make this argument. It's entertainment. So, like when I watch a basketball game, I love playing basketball. A lot of the things that they do in those basketball, I can do. So, but obviously, I'm not in the NBA, and so. You look at that and you feel like, well, if I trained a little bit harder, if I did this or I was in this situation, maybe I would have gotten to a higher level. And so, but when it comes out that, oh, this nigga took all these performance enhancement drugs and that's why they can now jump higher and do shit. Well, it kind of takes away from the sport because nigga, we're calculating these points, we're calculating these accolades, we're putting this on your resume. But if you got all this shit by
doing everything you can do,
basically, I won't say cheating, but
that's
like,
what I'm saying. Doing everything all this shit, can do, I think you should be allowed to do everything you can do to be good. Because it's already unhealthy. Like drawing the line there is like kind of weird because you're already doing some crazy unhealthy things to your body.
Well, I don't know about football, but basketball, I've never once felt unhealthy by playing basketball. I mean, I guess you could say it's hard on your knees.
I'll say yes for basketball. I'm more talking about football. And things like I don't like football. And other hardcore athletics like gymnastics and shit like that. The shit where you really push your body and shit like that. That's just not good for you. We just like the spectacle of it. So drawing the line at certain drugs is weird to me. But that being said,
it's not weird to me.
That wasn't even
because it does the thing that you argue about all the time, where we project like, and maybe this is just an American thing, but it's become a worldly thing where we project like you can become this if you just work hard enough. And that is true to some extent, but it's not always the same, because if you're starting with $1 million and I'm starting with $0, you have performance enhancement drugs and I don't. We're not playing with the same type of time.
I'm just saying, like, so allowing everyone to have them. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're right. Like, if some people can have them and some people can't, that's not cool. That's why I'm saying get rid of the ban. Like, let everybody do it. Like, let everybody have access to everything.
No, because then we get into the shit where you talking about.
I think it's better than opioids.
Where you tried to, what's the word? You tried to simp for Jonathan Majors and be like, well, nobody's talking about the fact that he
that's my whole thing. Like, you need to
pre-workout and shit. Like, no, I don't want you to do that because it makes fucks people's minds up.
Like, have some informed consent, because everything about football is fucking your mind up. So, like, just have some. Down to the opioids, because that's usually what they take when they're not able to recover and are in a tremendous amount of pain. Like, they get addicted to opioids. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue football. I think it's a terrible sport. It's entertaining, but it's like clearly dangerous.
It is. There's got to be more ethical ways to do stuff. But I'm just saying, like, banning stuff usually doesn't make it safer. So that's my whole thing. Like, usually just finding a way to do it as safely as possible, because people are going to do it anyway, is usually a better route. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about all kinds of stuff. But I don't think I'm wrong about the fact that Katt Williams is more than likely had addiction. Well, because let's talk about the most interesting stuff was when he was talking about himself, which is what you're supposed to do on a podcast. Because I'm sorry, like, bringing up like some jokes somebody stole from you in like 98 feels weird. Like, that's, to me, like even if it's true, it don't
feel weird to me,
because like he was saying Cedric stole a joke from him from Comic View.
Obama initials.
And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm gonna say, like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that, but that isn't enough to have affected Katt's career now or Cedric's career now. Like, Cedric the Entertainer, like, for people who are joke thieves, they're not able to maintain in the industry because it becomes too obvious what you're doing. Like, that happened to Carlos Mencia. Like, it bears out because you're not able to produce because you've been stealing. Like, that's, I think that's something to, point out. So I feel like, here's the thing, because I love black men. Like, I understand it's harder out here for black men in a lot of arenas. And so when they've made it, I think it's just too reductive to say, oh, well, that nigga put on a dress and that's why he's where I'm not.
Yeah, but it is still funny. It's funny because this is why I'm not totally against him saying the thing about Kevin Hart putting on a dress, because there is an interview out there where the nigga said, nah. Basically, he tried to make it seem like he wouldn't do it, and then he did it. And that's why I don't fuck with. Like,
because,
and yes, we reserve the right to change. We reserve the right to, we reserve the right to change our minds. I don't know the particulars of all of that. Yes, all of that's true. But when you come out and have a hard stance on something, and then you pretty much do a 180, it does make people look at you funny. Perception is reality. Regardless if we want to, I know you try to argue, no, reality is reality. No, perception is reality. If we view you a certain way, that's what it is. Now, to the general population,
your perception is your reality, but it's not reality. Like, if you ignore reality, it will kill you. Like, I could think I could fly, but that doesn't mean when I jump off this cliff, I'm not going to get pulled down.
That's true. That is true. It's like there are still laws of nature that still exist regardless if you don't want to like them or not. The thing is, though, I mean, shit. I feel like it's, on one end, I feel like it's petty of Katt to bring it up. At the same time, I mean, shit, fuck it. What I've actually gained from all of this is motherfuckers just like drama. Like, I'm over it. Like, I don't give a
can
fuck.
we
Like,
talk
I watched
about
that. I wasted 3 hours.
Like, so real talk. I had no idea who Shannon Sharpe was. Like, I'm not a sports person.
Oh my God.
Don't be like that. You don't know everybody I know. So I'm not a sports person, and I don't have to be. So, but now I know who.
You watched football.
Not recently.
With your dad.
Yeah, in the 1900s. With Shannon Sharpe.
Shannon Sharpe played in the 1900s.
Who did he play for?
He played for the Denver Broncos, and then
that was in our division.
Ravens.
Okay. I'm sorry if I did know him. Enough time has passed.
I'm not gonna down you for something you didn't know.
Thank you.
Because we all didn't know something.
Thank you for that grace. And maybe I did know him and just forgot about him, right? So now I understand, like, he's a big deal in the sports media space. Like, he's got a show with Skip Bayless, and he's got this podcast.
No, he's no longer on there.
Oh, damn it! See, I'm behind.
He works with Stephen A. Smith now.
Okay.
Skip disrespected him, and so I
can believe that. Skip is, he liked that. Okay, so cool. So from what I
like Skip, contrary to popular belief.
Sure. From what I can tell, I think Shannon Sharpe, he seems fine. So, it looks like on his YouTube channel, like the Cedric the Entertainer interview got, like, I think 1.6 million views. Like, that was like 4 weeks ago, and I was like, okay, that's decent. Cool. The Katt Williams episode so far, when the last time I checked, it had like 33 million views. So that's quite a bump. So yes, Mess gets a lot of eyeballs, which is, it's kind of a shame. But the game is the game.
No, it's not.
Do you think he was right? Because he obviously edits the podcast. Do you think Shannon Sharpe was right to keep all the mess in there? Because he could have edited it down to the stuff when Katt was just talking about himself.
No, I don't think edited it down. Why? He's doing what his job is, to be a journalist. At this point, he doesn't have
I'm just saying, if he's a journalist, you need to fact check a lot of the statements that are being made, or at least put
his job is
at least put.
I improperly use that term. He's not a journalist. He's not a journalist. I improperly. He's a interviewer.
He's a podcaster. He's an entertainment. I put this in media entertainment. It's fine.
But the thing is, no, I don't know where that lot, because if I ask you a question and you answer the question, am I supposed to be like, oh, that was too much, because then we get into the whole thing of freedom of speech and all that type of shit. So
no, that's not a freedom of speech issue. That has to do with the government.
Yeah, but where is it the responsibility of me as an interviewer to ask the interviewee, if I ask you a question and you give me an answer and it is a controversial answer, am I supposed to be like, oh, I think it's just at your own discretion. I think that's what it comes to. You come down to like, we're not gonna put it in there.
Hey,
some people, because I've heard
left it
interviewers.
in. It was obviously the right move. Like I've heard. I mean, my kid. This is what's interesting to me. Everyone's heard about it. Like usually stories like this are, not since I feel like the submarine story.
I don't okay, maybe I'm just not with I don't know. This is what I was about to get on. I just feel like an alien because everything he said, I don't give a fuck about.
Okay,
I don't.
Gossip. People like gossip.
But that's the thing. Like my sister texted me, was like,
the Illuminati thing. Here's the other thing. People love that he said that. Like for you, it doesn't mean like a big thing, but when I just talk to a lot of people, especially black people, and people really believe like there's Michael Che talks about it. They think like there's this Illuminati that you have to sacrifice a family member to and do some gay shit in front of. And that's the only way you'll be able to make money in Hollywood. As opposed to the fact that every industry has gatekeepers and a lot of them are creeps. But that's just a problem in our society, not just Hollywood. Like, I'm just saying, like, Hollywood is just an extension of our pre-existing ills in society. And when we can talk about celebrities, we can ignore it happening in our real lives.
I think it's more along the lines of the shit they do in Scientology, where they get you in a room and they have you basically come clean about all the shit you ever done. And then...
Who's they?
That they kind of just... The powers that be.
Okay, so you think like the
Illuminati
of, like,
for the service, the purpose
is like, okay.
I don't want to just like certain people, not everyone, but certain people, like they probably have dirt on other people like that. But
yes, that's every industry. That's how people get ahead. That's even like a plot point on Abbott Elementary, how the principal got the job because she had dirt on the superintendent. Like, this is it's a very human thing. Like I said, we like talking about celebrities because everybody knows celebrities. So then that way we can talk about it without talking about our own issues or our own family addictions, our own.
And I guess that's where I'm disconnected because I just, for all the shit that Katt said, he did say some shit that I was like, I feel that. Like when they brought up Kanye and he's like, how do you feel about Kanye?
I agreed with that.
Yada, yada, yada. And I was just like, yeah, I don't look at Kanye to give me any type of anything other than music and maybe clothes. I don't give a fuck about what he's doing.
Well, and also if he does have mental illness, we shouldn't really be maybe putting him in front of a microphone as much as we do and like making fun of what he says. Like, I think he really does struggle with mental health issues. And to me, making fun of him having like maybe less than logical thoughts is like making fun of someone who has a limp and like being like, why aren't you walking normally? Like there's no point in doing that. Like they're doing the best they can. So and they might need a little help, like give them a little crutch or something. What I didn't like, here's another thing I didn't like about what Katt said when he was talking about their wives. Because, like, trying to say, like, they all got a bunch of light-skinned, funny-looking wives, and that's the only reason, too, that he's not doing well in Hollywood.
That shit obviously is not. There's no way to prove that, but all right.
Well, and it's an ugly thing.
Because for every person like that...
to say either. Like, he was kind of giving...
It's not. That was disrespectful as fuck.
Like, that wasn't cool. So, like, to me... I feel like, because like I said, I like Katt Williams. Like, you don't need to resort to that to be funny. Like, to me, this was some schoolyard, like, bully stuff. And you can come for these people without coming for their families. And also...
Yeah, that's why I draw the line.
Yeah, when he was talking about Jonathan Majors and being afraid of white women, you don't have to be afraid of white women if you don't get into physical confrontations with them. Because they do leave marks.
No, that's not...
I mean, generally,
history has shown that motherfuckers lie.
That's true.
So let's not do that.
But generally, you'll get into less trouble if you don't put your hands on them. Because, for instance, Wesley Snipes, he doesn't date anything but very pale women. He's managed to not put hands on them, as far as we know. At least not in the back of a cab.
That nigga another way.
Huh?
They got that nigga. I said they got that nigga another way. So
what? You do have to pay taxes. You can't.
You don't have to do anything.
I mean, There's consequences if you don't. We'll put it that way. There's consequences if you don't.
But that's another thing. All that shit's made up. Do I agree with
course.
paying taxes? Yes, because I think that you.
What you think?
But that's
What's made up?
All the concept of taxes is
Yes,
made up. First of all,
everything's
when
made
we
up.
left,
America's made up.
okay,
Like, that's not a defense
when they
to
left,
not do it.
the England, they left because they were tired of paying taxes. Then to come over here and be like, oh yeah, shit, we need to start making motherfuckers pay taxes.
That's how society
like
works.
that.
You're not getting around it.
Okay, that I'm just going on a rant.
Okay.
It's based on just my own frustration with the bullshit, but I agree that we all should pay taxes.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so I think part of my personality is that I don't like misinformation. And I think that's what bugged me about the Katt Williams thing, is that he had a lot of misinformation in there. Of course, all of it wasn't misinformation, but let's just say if you talked for 3 hours and 40% of it was misinformation, that's a lot of misinformation, even if 60% of it was like mostly true.
But hold on, you haven't really gave. I guess we have to argue over what's misinformation.
I will say this
because,
is something that I think is misinformation. Here's an example. So when he's talking about Ricky Smiley,
Okay.
and he was saying that he got mad because Ricky Smiley came on there and said that, bringing up Friday After Next, which is, oh my God, that's some old shit. So Friday After Next, saying that Ricky was lying about he was supposed to be Money Mike in that. And because Ice Cube actually cleared it up. He's like, I can clear this up. Originally, yes, the role was written before we cast it, like how stuff generally works. And originally, they did have Ricky Smiley do it. And then they were like, no, this isn't working. And then they brought in Katt. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then Ice Cube also said, for everybody, who's talking, he was like, yeah, so I just wanted to clear that up. So, yeah, like...
So then he did have the role before Katt. So what the fuck is Katt talking about?
He's just mad. Like, to me, he just seems...
Okay, so then everything now that he said, I'm just like, I mean, I already was rolling my eyes, but I was just like, that was the whole first 20, 30 minutes of the fucking show.
Oh, here's
what got him started.
Here's the other thing. I think that, have you ever heard of religious trauma syndrome?
Maybe.
So,
I'm sure you brought it up on
for
here.
people who've been brought up in high demand religions, a lot of times they experience something that's known as religious trauma syndrome. So, I think he might be suffering from that. He said that he left his family when he was 13, like violently. It's from what I could tell, because he wouldn't say anything directly, but it sounds like he and his father got into a physical altercation when he was 13, and then he left home and like moved to Florida. And then he said they were Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That kind of explains why him and Prince were close, because Prince was Jehovah's Witness too. And but he still uses a lot of very religious talk when he's talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think
another point of where I kind of tuned out on him.
Yeah, but of course, for a lot of his audience, that perks their ears up because they love hearing that stuff. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm always very cautious of it because a lot of times it's a way to virtue signal, right? So to me, like he said, when he was talking about Diddy, of course, nobody's trying to cape for Diddy right now, but he's just saying like, there's either God's side and the other side, and we don't care nothing else about the other side, period. To me, I did not like that sentence at all because, once again, define God's side, because a lot of people say they're on God's side. You know who else said they were on God's side? Al-Qaeda. So, and that's how Al-Qaeda was. They were mentally able to be like, yeah, I can blow up all these people who've never done anything to me because they're on the other side and I'm on God's side. So I'm always very, very kind of anxious when I hear language like that because it taps into a part of our psychology that isn't necessarily the best part of us.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I like when Shannon, because he gave the analogy of Shannon when you on the team and y'all going against the other team, like, and Shannon has said something to the effect like, but I'm still cool with players on the other team, like that. And that's kind of how I feel. That's how I live
And
my
that's
life.
why I kind of did. I was
got,
like, okay, Shannon Sharp's actually, he's cool.
Yeah, Shannon been Shannon.
You have to remember, this is really my introduction to him.
Oh, well, Shannon been
Okay.
cool.
Well,
Like,
he's giving that impression.
He probably my favorite, if not my favorite, one of my favorite.
I might follow Club Shay Shay now.
Personalities. Oh yeah, Shannon.
Yeah.
Cool. He's very, and you gotta listen to like his nightcap shit. With him and Ocho Cinco.
Oh, that sounds. I love. Okay, now I definitely know who Chad Ocho Cinco is.
So like it's him. Sometimes they be having.
I always felt bad for him
Deion
too.
Sanders
I feel like he
there.
got a bad rep in the press.
I mean, I don't know much about his press.
He just did a lot. I mean, he's the one who basically got the no celebration rule instituted because he do too much when he scored. And I remember one time he's doing a commercial that was like a fake press conference, and he was like, I'm sorry for dancing in the end zone. I guess I'm the only one who gets excited. And it was just like this whole thing of like to me, and of course I'm watching football, like I said, really just to spend time with my dad. I'm like, he's entertaining. More of this, please.
But that's what it's supposed to be. That's why I don't understand how the refs, and even in basketball, you're seeing this now. Like when a player screams on another player and they feel like it's going to cause some type of altercation. But that is what it's about. Like when I go play basketball in the morning, I am a fucking tyrant. So like,
I mean, it's called beast
and
mode.
I tell them like, bro, like don't take this shit personal. I'm like this because we were being competitive. I woke up at 6. I woke up at 5 in the morning to be here to play basketball with y'all. So it's like, this is like how I get in. Like this is just where I find entertainment. This is entertainment.
For sure.
Like that's all it is. Don't take this shit personal.
I was gonna say his comments about Wanda Smith. I'd never heard of this person. I had to look her up.
I didn't know who Wanda Smith
I didn't either.
Because originally it said Wanda Sykes, but he corrected it.
I guess I watched the thing he was talking about. Actually, she did have that coming because they were lightly roasting each other, and they had agreed before the interview of stuff they were and were not going to talk about. And she brought up a topic that she'd agreed to not talk about, so he just went in on her, and I think that's fair. So I'm going to give him that one.
I don't like, because this goes back to the misogyny, homophobia. I don't know what we really want to, what word we want to place on this, where he just said shit like, oh, I just like having a bunch of women around me, and like, why would I have a man? Like, most of my jobs are given to women, and I think women should be able to get the job. What I think is actually more important is the best person for the fucking position should get the fucking job, no matter your gender or your fucking color of your skin. I just think that is where we should live. And I identify somewhat with that because I do think just naturally in certain situations, women bring a certain je ne sais quoi to things that you cannot get with men. And it just builds a level of comfortability in life.
Oh, here's the other thing too, because he was able to say it without saying it. I think he's probably on the side of like, because right now there's a certain culture wars going on in America right now where they're trying to outlaw drag shows, which is to most people in their minds when they think of drag shows, they think man in a dress. So there's this sort of villainization of men wearing women's clothes that's going on in society right now that, to me, I don't think we need to add to by being like, it's a horrible thing if we see a black man in a dress. Like, to me, I can think of worse things I could see. And no one ever accuses Tom Hanks of being less than a man because he did a whole series where he was dressed up as a woman. Bosom Buddies. Check it out. Freaking loved it.
I don't remember that. But nobody ever said that about Robin Williams.
Exactly. Because I feel like this is, it goes into a lot of the trauma we have as black people because of slavery.
But this is my argument I've been making with people for a while now. Only black people do this shit.
That's why I brought up
not
slavery.
only, but like.
But that's the thing. It's not entirely our fault. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, the trauma, we need to be aware of it, name it, and so that we can heal from it. But blaming ourselves for what was done to us isn't cool.
Look, wear a dress, don't wear a dress. I don't give a fuck. I think that it's even Dave Chappelle's special when he's talking about Lil Nas X. I think that just like whatever, man.
Dream, live your dream.
Not,
that was the thesis of the stand up. Like, live your dream and know sometimes you're living in somebody else's dream. And here's the other thing: if you don't, because Dave Chappelle has brought this up before too, because he's one of the comedians too who's like, I don't want to wear a dress. And I get it. Like, if you don't, you shouldn't. There's nothing wrong. I feel like every actor has like things they're what they don't do in their contracts, right? Is that a thing? Like, when you get to a certain level, you can say, I don't do nudity, or I don't do, this, that, or the third. Like, there's not. You can put whatever boundaries you want. You know me. I'm a big fan of boundaries. You don't have to explain to people your boundaries or why you don't like doing something. So
I don't like that talk.
So, but I'm just saying. Like, the Dave Chappelle brought up.
Don't say you don't have to explain, because it gives people this sense of entitlement where I don't have to. No, you don't have to explain. But you know what makes the world a better place is when you do explain.
Communication is better, but you sometimes understand. Because your boundaries might be linked to a trauma you don't want to talk to. You don't have to explain your boundaries. So that's why I have that. But like Dave Chappelle talked about a situation where he was filming a movie, and then at the last minute, like while he's on set, like I said, he's already signed the contract to do the movie, read the script. They added something to the script where he'd be wearing a dress, and he was like, I don't feel like comfortable doing that. And they really tried to get him to do it, and finally he was just put his foot down, and the movie went on, and he didn't get fired because of course he's already hired for the job. Now, the example that Katt Williams gave was where he had, I think when he was telling Martin, like, hey, I'll do whatever movie you want to do. I'll do it. I don't even need to read the script. And then when he saw the script and saw it was for Big Mama's House 2 and he'd have to wear a dress, he was like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing that. It's like, well, don't say you're going to do it without reading the script. Because, I mean, you're allowed to turn stuff down, but yes, you shouldn't, fully well that there's some stuff you don't do, which is fine. But, like, don't say you're going to do something and then, like, be all like, oh, okay, you're right. I said I would do anything. I actually don't do this. And, whatever.
I'm going to give some pushback on this as somebody who is in the entertainment industry.
Let's hear it.
I think that there is something out there, and you see this either directly or indirectly. A lot of times, specifically in the past, a lot of the roles that African Americans got recognition for was you were either some type of criminal or some type of drug addict or some type of like person that was in a dress or something like that. I just think historically that's how it's been. And there's nothing wrong with men being set up in a dress or wearing a dress in a film or whatever like that. The problem, I think, becomes, and Dave Chappelle touched on this when he was leaving Comedy Central, and the problem is you get to a certain level where, oh, you're not laughing with me, you're laughing at me. Oh, you're not. So I think that, to me, is why I would be hesitant to do anything like that, and I can see why other people may feel the same.
Yeah, I agree. The premise of the joke
I think the material has to support it. Like, it has to be not, oh, we're just putting, because then I think that's where it goes back into the emasculation thing. Because that, to me, it's the humiliate. You're putting me in a situation.
I still maintain like a man can't be emasculated.
I don't agree with that, but okay.
Like, there are things you can do.
Because if I embarrass you and I humiliate you,
yes, anybody can be humiliated, but I don't.
You're trying to make the argument that you're still a man regardless of the circumstance. Yes. Okay, I'll stand with that. Yeah.
Like, so that to me is like, you're saying they're taking away something that they can't take away. So like I said, like, it's somehow like maybe when people talk about like, oh, I'm taking your black card. No, but it's like, you can't take my black card. I manufacture my blackness daily. Like, that's not something. So
when Theon was beat essentially into submission in Game of Thrones, he was not emasculated?
I think the emasculating part was like when they cut off his penis. But you could still make the case that he was still a man after that. He was just a dickless man.
I think that anytime you let somebody take your,
you could dishonor. You could call it dishonorable. I think
anytime you're put into a submissive situation, I think that would be,
or like I said, if you are betraying your boundaries and, like I said, your honor, Like, no one should do that. Like, that's out of character. It's dishonorable. But that's why I kind of feel like what Katt did was dishonorable, because you didn't have to, like I said, if you want to address some stuff that was said on his podcast that you felt was inaccurate, that makes perfect sense. But you went after a bunch of people who'd never even been on that podcast. Ludacris, I don't know. Why was he going after Ludacris saying like that? Because that was the other part too that was weirdly...
Because of apparently they were both up for the same movie. That did sound like some hater shit, because like Luda don't really fuck with nobody. So it's like...
And said that he's part of the Illuminati because they make you cut off your hair and your sideburns. Like, to me, that was just... okay.
That doesn't check out, because that nigga got his braids back now and he has sideburns again. Like, I don't know what the fuck Katt is on,
That's
man,
what I'm saying. Like,
whatever.
to me, like, this is bothersome because, of course, not everything he said was some bullshit, but there's just enough bullshit mixed in to be like, to keep people thinking like this hot, like they're like, oh, I knew it. It's the Illuminati. That's why my life is. I think I brought up somewhere else, like, you don't need conspiracy theories when we have like racism and sexism. Like, those exist for real. Like, and I bring them up because they are making our lives worse, not just black people and women, but everybody. Like, there's systems, you can't run oppression systems without really oppressing everybody.
I think those exist, but they are only a sub of the real issue, which is classism.
Right. That goes on throughout all of history. And I think it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast called The Inner Cosmos, where they were talking about how, the atrocities throughout history, like the Holocaust and the Khmer Rouge, like just these, any kind of like genocide where you get a group of people to completely disassociate the humanity of another group. I think it was called Syndrome E. Basically where you just don't see this as a person anymore and go after them. That's why I didn't like that comment where it's like there's God's side and the other side, because if you feel like you're on God's side, then anything you do is justified. We've just been talking about that all throughout 2 Samuel. They wiped out entire tribes of people without a second thought because they felt like they were on God's side. But as we discover, everybody,
that type of talk is dangerous.
Everybody has different gods. So, depending on which god you're listening to, people are getting a lot of different information.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Harvey Weinstein claim? Do you think that's real?
That Harvey brought him in to do some shit?
Yeah, he was saying like he said they canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my penis in front of all of my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do? He did all of that. I'm thinking I'm the only black person on the script. I get there, it's 3 other black guys there. Right. I told him no. What y'all do?
I mean, I think there's some truth to that.
To me, that's not unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, but like it came out about Harvey that he was on some bullshit, and then like Terry Crews talked about. This is what I don't get. This is what frustrates me, and everybody's different mentality plays a difference to this. Maybe this is me being triggered by my own traumas of being put in situations where I was bullied and felt powerless as a kid. Ain't no fucking situation is me in my life at this point where I'm in a room and another man inappropriately grabs me, touched me, whatever, where I'm not checking that shit. Terry Crews, that's why I was pissed with Terry Crews. Being a Hollywood actor, celebrity, whatever the fuck, it's not that deep, bro. It's not. Like, you got to stand up for yourself. Like, I don't understand these motherfuckers.
Here's the thing. I always push back on that because you never know what you would do when you're sexually assaulted. Like, everyone has different reactions.
I know.
But me and you have never been in that situation that he was in. So I don't judge Terry Crews for how he decided to live another day. He's still alive. He's still taking care of his family. So to me, I think he's made the right decisions.
I'm not saying you have to be physically, because I do think it's how you handle it. Because Terry Crews is a big black man. if everybody in that room, hypothetically, if everybody in that room didn't see what happened and Terry Crews just starts snapping, they're going to look at him like this angry, crazy black man who snapped on this man. Fine. I do think, but you can also check somebody and still be like, hey, don't do that shit. Like, I don't have to embarrass you in front of everybody to check you. I just got to talk to you. So, like, that's the thing.
Here's the thing.
It's not.
Sometimes when you're in shock because you can't believe it's really happening. Like, this is the thing too, when people are like, well, why?
Okay,
it's the same thing when it happens to women. I want to give him the same benefit of the doubt I would give a woman. Just because he's big and strong doesn't mean that you wouldn't necessarily. There's fight, flight, and freeze. Like, those are all very perfectly natural human reactions, and he's not at fault for being like feeling any of that.
He's not at fault. I'm not saying it. I'm
not saying I would be so much better in that situation. I have no idea.
I do not see any situation where that's happening. But all right, for me personally,
yeah,
it's just not, because it's not that deep, bro. Like, I don't want to be.
Like I said, it might not have felt deep. It might have just been too shocking to even like ultimately process it. Like, it might not be later until he was like, shit, did that really happen? Like, your brain really does go somewhere else when you're being like sexual. Like, it takes it to another realm. So I'm not mad at Terry Crews. Okay. I think I said, if you're any human being on this planet who lived through something traumatic, you're still alive to tell the tale, and you're still free to take care of your family, you're doing the right stuff.
See, that's the point. Like, all right, this is where I think you and I differentiate, because I think in your mind, you're thinking like, I just need to be alive. I ain't living my life like that. Like, I'm willing to die on the shit that I stand on.
I'm not willing to die over that.
Like, you could. Yeah, no, I am. Like, I am. Like, so, like, that's different. You could call that stupid or whatever the fuck, but I don't want to live in a world where, like, you feel like you can disrespect me in a certain way, I'm not
dying over it. Keeping it real goes wrong. Like, that's not the.
It's not. I'm not keeping it real. I'm not keeping. That's not even me trying to keep it real. It's just like, don't put your hands on me. Don't do shit. Don't fuck with people that I care about. Like, don't do that shit. Like, that's just what it is. It's not me keeping it real. It's just me setting a boundary. That's all it is. I don't want to live in a world where, like, people feel like they can.
But I also don't want to live in a world where we judge people who may not be as Kentucky Fried Awesome as we are.
I'm judging Terry Crews, but I also understand your sentiment, and I agree. Like, you never know what you're gonna do in the situation. I agree with that. I just personally feel like I wouldn't operate that like that. But this is also piggyback off what we were just talking about. When Katt went in the room, what did y'all niggas do? I mean, just because they in the room, they could have also said no. Like, that's the thing. He didn't really elaborate on that. That's what I'm saying.
Either. A lot of this is very vagary. Like, this is some.
Yeah, like,
okay, because he turned vagary,
Harvey down.
Like, when he was complaining about Steve Harvey, and some of the stuff he was saying about Steve Harvey is legit. I'm not even a huge Steve Harvey fan, quite honestly, but I'm never gonna knock anyone's hustle. Like, to be in those positions, to where those people are, I think it's wildly disrespectful to say their shit is just because they were corny long enough for white people to be happy with them. So when he was talking about Steve Harvey, and he said that, like, he said, this is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. I'm sorry. Is Katt Williams the only person who was allowed to be homeless? Like, I feel like a lot of comics talk about being homeless on their journey, not just black, all kind of people.
I feel like he contradicted himself, because if I recall correctly, I feel like he made it seem like he wasn't homeless a few times, and then he goes on to say he was. So I was confused about his whole homeless story. That to me was also why
it felt a little erratic and Trumpian and possibly under the influence-y. Here's the other thing. And then this is why he's mad at Ricky Smiley, though, for real, because I know you probably don't listen to the Ricky Smiley morning show. I listen to the radio when I take my daughter to school in the morning.
That nigga's corny.
I just listen to it for the music, but sometimes I end up listening to the actual show. Can I be honest? Like, I really miss having a local.
Whatever happened to the other person that was before him? I forget.
I miss having, like, the local.
Tom Joyner. Where the fuck is Tom Joyner?
Retired. So, but even before Tom Joyner, I miss having the local radio station morning show. I really liked being able to listen to that. Like, now that we have like satellites, radio, and all this other stuff, we can listen to everything everywhere. But I still liked having, like, Guy Black in the morning team, whatever. Moving on, Ricky Smiley, he has a bit he does on his show called Black Tony. And Black Tony is always calling into work. That's the bit. Like, Black Tony, where you at? I got you a job at the studio. He's like, oh, man, I can't make it, man. He's got this whole little affected thing. He was like, man, I tried to go and took my key. He always has some hilarious story as to why he can't make it into work. So I think it might be slightly based on Katt Williams, and that's what he's upset about.
Oh, okay.
It's a funny bit because he's basically that person you're always trying to put on and then disappoints you by having an excuse as to why they can't show up.
Yeah. And both things could be true. Like, Katt could have had legitimate reasons all the time and just has bad timing on why he fucking couldn't make it.
He has a lot of court dates, to be sure.
Honestly, I don't know what the fuck. Because one thing, I'm surprised this didn't get brought up. Katt Williams got beat up by like a 14-year-old. You ever seen that video?
By a lot of all of his, because he's had a series of. Because I had to look up. I was like, hasn't he had a series of arrests that I felt were linked to drugs? But he's right, drugs were never mentioned. But it's the kind of stuff where it seems like drugs had to have been, because you fight too much to not be on. Like, I'm sorry, you just get into too many fights with people. It seems like most celebrities are able to avoid getting into this many fights in a row. Like, you were out on bond and got into a fight.
Look, man, I don't.
Oh, because he was saying too, it's like, well, if I'm in trouble, like, then why? If I get arrested, I get right back out. I'm like, yeah, because that's how the system works. Like, you post bond and you get out. That doesn't mean you didn't do it.
That was the case when he was talking about, oh yeah, I have my gun, I get locked up 15 times. Like, first of all, I just feel like you're a fucking idiot. I ain't gonna lie. Like, regardless if you a criminal or not, or you have a criminal record, not gonna say you're a criminal per se, but like, if you have a criminal record where you're not able to get a firearm, I still think you should be able to protect yourself. Like, now we can have an argument about, gun law, all that type of shit, but that's not really where I'm going with this. So to a certain extent, I understand where he's coming from, because when I was in Cali, I definitely had my gun with me. In California specifically, California and New York, I know specifically, they don't honor other states' gun licenses. You have to get a license for a firearm through specifically them.
That's how all licensing works.
It can be no, but some states, like, I have the license from our state. I can travel to certain states and they don't give a fuck. Like, because they honor, it's like a driver's license.
I understand, like places with higher populations, they just have stricter gun laws generally. Right.
So on one end, I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I'm just like, that just seems like bad decision. It's kind of bad decision.
Yeah, he could have.
This is where him hiring men could work in his favor, because then you can hire, not just men, because I'm not saying a woman couldn't be a security guard or something, but this is where, like, hiring,
he does seem to be in the camp of sticking to assigned gender roles a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't fuck with that. That's also,
to me, he's just,
because he brought up the point about Shannon asked him, why haven't you got married or whatever, or something about him getting married. He was like, well, I already been cooking for my kids, so what is she gonna do? And it's just like, why is it always when we think of a woman being a wife, it's like the first thing is like she's in the kitchen or she's folding clothes or some shit like that is not the type of partner I want.
He also mentioned doing missionary work in Haiti, which,
and that he spoke French or what? I feel like this.
Well, might. Who knows? He might speak Creole.
The nigga lost me at reading 3,000 books in a year from the ages of 3 to fucking 12 years old. No, the fuck you did. That can't be proved. No, you did.
It's not a falsifiable claim, so I'm not going to pay any attention to it. I can't prove it or disprove it.
No, the fuck you did it.
I'm going to walk away from that. I want to go back to the missionary work because people automatically assume that missionary work is something positive. Generally, it's not. It usually is a tool of colonialism. A lot of times the missionaries who are there are taking up resources that could be going to the people who live there. And it's something people should be aware of, that they just automatically are like, oh, missionary work, that's helping the poor savages and the, whatever. And it's like, no, generally, missionaries are not making lives better for the people. They're usually just trying to recruit them for their religion, which makes them ripe for the plucking for the capitalism machine.
Yes, I'm sorry, I can't, because I literally just did the math in my head
about the books.
Bill Gates himself said, he tries to read 52 books or whatever.
But Bill Gates had a job,
which is already fair, which is already hard to fucking do. Reading one book a week is already hard to fucking do. 3,000? Shut the fuck up.
Say what kind of books there were.
I don't
like. You know what? You could read read two Donald Goines books in one day.
No. He said he only read nonfiction. He said that. So therefore,
you could read you could read was it Iceberg Slim? Man, that was an autobiography. You can read that in one day.
Yeah, but
if you're not doing anything else,
that book is not that long. That book is also not that long.
Not.
So yeah, maybe you could read that, and then maybe some other. I guess okay, you're reading 3,000 books if you're reading only books of that size, and you're reading multiple a day. Fine, but no, that's just.
To me, it was very reminiscent of.
And I can see if he said that now, like maybe as an adult, or maybe even as a younger adult, maybe. I'm not buying it from the age of 3 years old to 12. I'm not fucking buying that shit.
That was wild. Like I said, he said a couple things that already kind of put me on, ooh, this doesn't have the ring of truth. There are certain outlandish things I hear where I'm like, you know what? That could actually be true. But the things he was saying was, to me, reminds me of the things men tell me when they're trying to sleep with me, which are lies.
I'm waiting.
Oh,
that's it? I thought you were going to give examples.
Oh, no, like I'm single, or I'm super smart, or let me try to think of some other stuff. Like usually men try to like impress you, so men are usually, and because most men, like I said, you always complain like the women you're dating, they're all religious. Well, the men are very religious too. So they want to tell you about their deep personal relationship with Christ, about how, what's some other dude, like, I don't know.
I'm just getting that a lot of people are con artists, and because I don't choose to live my life on a daily where I'm trying to be a con artist, it just frustrates me, and it makes me worried for the children that I'm responsible for, the shit that they're going to have to deal with, because golly, I mean, first of all, it's all girls. Second of all, like, it's just a ridiculous amount of bullshit.
I think when I was younger, I didn't realize how much men lie and what they're willing to lie about. So I think it's important that people know that, like, it feels like the scope of things he's talking about is too big to lie about, but no, it's not. And to me, he may have convinced himself this is the truth. I like what Cedric the Entertainer said in response. Quote, revisionist history, regardless of what Katt's opinions, my career can't be reduced to one joke Katt Williams claims as his.
Yeah,
so I feel like it's important that when we do talk shit, because of course, I mean, I'm no better than anyone else. I was into this because I like a good shit talker as much as anybody else, but I also like the truth, and I'm always going to have an allegiance to the truth first. That's why the Santa Claus myth bothers me, because it's this celebration of denying the truth.
You know what it is with Katt? Because you asked me, like, why do you like T.I.? Why do you like
people
like Jay-Z and stuff?
Wait, no, I didn't say Katt. T.I. is bothersome
what do I like
to
about
me for different.
What I like, what I've found at this moment in time is that I don't find Katt very charming. I find the other people that you have made some of these same claims about, at least they're charming. I don't find him charming, really. He's cool. He's obviously interesting.
Because I don't find T.I. charming, but I do find Jay-Z charming. That's interesting. Like I actually do.
There's levels to this.
Yeah, there's levels to this. Like, and I agree with you. I don't find.
I wouldn't put them in the same.
In the same way, I don't find Trump charming. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you got to admit he's funny."
Trump charming, hell no.
But I'm just saying, like when people talk about Trump, they're like, "Well, you got to admit he's funny," and I'm like, "No, I don't find him funny."
No, he's not.
I actually do. Katt Williams sounds funny. I think my favorite role with him was A Pimp Named Slickback.
Yeah.
You know, even more than.
And that's the thing. That's why I say he's interesting to talk, because he has a very unique voice. Mm-hmm. So.
And when he says "some of a bitch," that's funny. But to me, that's not. It's usually not enough to carry me through, because he talked about all these specials he's had, but I don't. I'm like a fan of comedy. I'll usually go back and listen to like things that I thought were really good stand up, and like Bill Burr. Like, to me, I can listen to his stand up over and over again. I definitely don't go back to listen to Katt Williams, but I will rewatch the hell out of a Boondocks episode.
I be real with you, and I was probably like, this was like 2007 or 8. I remember he had whatever comedy special he comes out to every day. I'm hustling. He has one. He's wearing like a green suit. I remember this vividly. I remember watching that with my girlfriend at the time and thinking like, this nigga not that funny to me as a comedian. And so, like, I obviously like him in Friday. I like him in Boondocks. But then when he was talking about he's done all these specials, one, I don't even remember people ever talking about any of his specials until he just did this interview. So that's one thing. Like, you know, usually when a special come out, people be like it's a discourse about Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr or even Kevin Hart, who I don't like his stand-up either. Like, there's usually a discourse about certain people. I don't feel like that ever happens with his.
I think it is because, I mean, real talk, I don't think Katt Williams ever crossed over. So there's just less chatter in general because he's really still just black famous. So, which isn't a diss. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think you can eat off of just being black famous. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a certain freedom there too. So, but of course there's more money when you appeal to more people.
Oh.
And
can we talk about JM?
Who's JM?
The guy you've been simping over for months.
Oh,
now.
Jonathan Majors. Have I been simping on JM?
Yeah.
My voice got real high. Maybe I have.
I feel like you were very hurt by this.
I still am.
The only thing that his interview confirmed to me is like, oh, this nigga, I feel like he was just playing a character this whole time. He's actually.
Yeah, he's pretty much a fuck nigga. Like, oh, okay, so I didn't tell you. I'm going to take this part out. So, dang it, because, okay, so I have a source.
What?
And, they told me that everyone's been this was just a known secret in the business, like how he is. It's just, he's crazy talented. But they also brought up the point, he's never dated a black woman, ever. So, it's kind of, to me, that's why I was like, that whole Megan Good thing, because they also brought up the fact that Megan Good, she's, what do they say? The wheel is spinning, but the hamster's dead. There's not a lot going on up there. So I think that,
I can see that.
You know, this is just something that she was cast in, and like basically she's being paid to show up. And if you listen to what people were talking about in Hollywood, she could use the money because it sounds like black women aren't getting paid. So she's like, hey, this is a role like any other one. Let's do it.
We're going to have a talk about that. Let's drop that in there because I got some comments.
Okay,
on that,
cool.
Keep going about
but keep in mind, people talk about Hollywood like it's this isolated planet. It's a part of our world, and we see black women getting underpaid in every industry. So I don't know why we wouldn't expect to see it in Hollywood as well, because it's not a Hollywood problem. It's a systemic racist, sexist problem.
It is.
But back to Jonathan Majors.
No, because you already started on that. The thing that frustrates me about the comments that were made from Taraji is that the comparison this is true. Black women are getting underpaid. Women are getting underpaid.
But especially black women because of intersectionality.
The thing is, she tried to compare, because the example she gave was, well, I was in Benjamin Button. I was in there with Brad Pitt.
That was an uneven metaphor.
He got paid all
You're
this
right.
First of all, it was uneven. Second of all, you were only in the movie for 6 minutes. He's in the entire 3-hour movie.
You shouldn't have. That wasn't a good metric.
Like, well,
that was not a good metric. I think she could have used a better example. That wasn't a good example to use, that she was underpaid. But I do generally agree that she is probably underpaid, just because just about every black woman is underpaid.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's the only point I wanted
back
to
to
make,
Jonathan
is
Majors,
that the metric was off.
JM. And Katt Williams brought him up too, basically saying like all these niggas that make it, they get light-skinned women. Not necessarily. Denzel Washington, like, it's not true of every successful black man, but yes, you're going to see some black men with lighter women, because there's all kind of people on the planet, genetic expression. We don't have to keep chopping people into color groups just because the people who like kidnapped and human trafficked us did. Like, we don't have to do the stuff that we've been doing all this time. So I thought that was kind of messed up. But bringing up the fact that somehow, like, what happened to Jonathan Majors is because he crossed the color line, other than the fact that he crossed a physical line, is an obfuscation of what the real problem was there, which is you can't get into physical conflict. You just can't engage in any kind of domestic abuse and expect to keep your expensive ass contract. From a certain perspective, I feel like he should have kept his shit, because technically it was just a misdemeanor. It wasn't a felony or any of that other shit. So from one angle, I feel like that is not a big enough deal to write him off. From another perspective, that nigga crazy, man. like, look, hearing that tape, 'cause I listened to the tape again where he talking to. I only read the transcript
where she recorded. That nigga, it's crazy. It's wild hearing.
I can believe it,
because I don't know. You said you cut off the interview,
I did,
or you stopped watching it, but like, so the little thing where he was telling her, like, you got to be like Coretta. So in the interview, the lady asks him, how has it been dating Megan Good? He said, oh. I said, okay. I was like, yeah, this nigga did all that shit. I'm
silence
done.
And like, obedience.
I was just like, man, I'm done. And the comments was crazy, because they was like, first person that said something like, who gonna tell this nigga that he not Dr. King? First of all. Second of all, then somebody was like, what's crazy is Dr. King was fucking white women too. So maybe that's why he thinks he can be. That makes
sense. Yes, like he finally found his Coretta Scott King, because you got to get a black woman to stand by you and do the hard shit while you go have fun with the women you actually want to sleep with.
They don't make them like
they
that
no
more.
They don't. I love it when people bring up, it's like, well, it wasn't that way with our grandparents. It's like, because my grandmother couldn't leave. That's why my grandmother pushed so super hard for me to stay in school and have an education and be independent, because she couldn't. It's better. Can I say it's better? Like, being able to leave my terrible marriages was better than having to stay in them, because I wasn't allowed to have a bank account or a driver's license or get a job that would, just the only job available to me was cleaning white people's houses. Like, yeah, I think this is better. It's still hard, but it's better.
I think there is something in there where, obviously, yes, it's better. A point I want to make, though, is I think that and Dave Chappelle kind of touched on this when he was talking about one of his last specials. But essentially, the movement where it's been like women, it went from women just wanting to have equality or being treated similarly to now it seems like the pendulum has swung as an overcorrection to where, in my experience, I can't speak for everyone, in my experience, that there seem to be these women who feel like they want to have now a submissive man, or just a man who is going to do whatever the fuck that they tell him to do. And I'm not with that. Like,
yeah, this whole idea, and I really, we finally bring this back to the Bible, since this is technically a Bible podcast. I think part of why we get into that, at least here, you know, in this point in time where we are on this planet, is because the Bible is basically a non-consensual sub-dom relationship with the creator of the universe. Like, we're supposed to do whatever he says or get fucked up. So I think a lot of times people, and they're told that you're supposed to model your personal relationships on, you know, God and the church, and, you know, the man is God and the woman is the church, or however it's supposed to work out, whatever. You're just supposed to do whatever this nigga says without question, and or get fucked up. And I've never really liked that.
I don't like
and
that.
And I don't
either.
think we should do that. We don't have to. I think that's the magic of freedom. Like, we don't have to do that. You can be in whatever kind of relationship you want to be in. If you don't want to be in a sub-dom relationship, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. Just make sure you have consent. And I think that we're all much better for it. But when I look at the type of people who are in relationships that I'd actually want to be in, no one's dominating anyone. The woman's not dominating the man. The man isn't dominating the woman. They're partners. That doesn't mean you do the exact same things like everyone, but you can discuss what your roles in the relationship are and where people have their strength. We just got through reading The Color Purple, and that was like a big problem in the book with Harpo and Sophia, because she was actually bigger than him, and he actually preferred to do domestic work. And they broke up originally because he wanted to be able to physically dominate her the way his dad had dominated Celie, but he couldn't do that. But she wanted to be there. She didn't need to be dominated. Like, it was just, they got back together later once he figured it out. But
okay, thanks for ruining it for me. But I'll say this. I think this is really my big problem. This is where the triggering of all of the dating and dynamics come for me. It's the fact that we've been socialized and conditioned to think only specific ways are right. Woman doing this, man doing this. You're supposed to be in this monogamous relationship, and it pisses me off, because it's like we have progressed so much. We have more education. We understand things better now, to where we know that does not 100% work for every specific person. So when people get online or they say shit like, oh, this is what happened when we get away from God, or this is what happened when we die. Like, no, maybe that works for you, but it doesn't. That's not a catch-all for everyone. Like, everybody doesn't need to be in a monogamous relationship. Everybody doesn't need to, have a woman who can only cook or clean. Like, everybody doesn't want that. I certainly don't. Like, yeah, it's nice when a woman cooks and cleans for me and does shit like that. But I'm never going to a situation like, bitch, you need to do this. Like, I just feel like whoever, like, I don't know. I don't like that type of dynamic. But when I run into the issue, when I give women choice, then I seem like a man who doesn't know how to make decisions. And it's like, no, I'm just trying to give you an option, because that's what women are saying they want.
I mean, it's hard. No matter how you work it, it's hard. I want to end it on, because he talked about Michael Blackson too for some reason, and I liked Michael Blackson's response, which was, quote, "Katt Williams is a very smart midget nigga. He took shots at the top 10 comedians alive today so we can all respond and make him relevant again. End quote.
Is Michael Blackson in that group?
I think.
Did he say top 10 comedians alive?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is doing his ranking? Because he ain't even in my top 10, first of all.
He might be doing well in the podcast sphere. And he's probably booking.
Point I'm making.
That's the thing, too. A lot of times people who are actively, like, booking clubs and stuff like that, they might not be on our radar. I mean, who knows? Like, he did...
I mean, I'm sorry. His point is relevant. That threw me. See, when niggas say, because Katt did this a lot. It's like when people say certain shit as if it's fact and it's not, like, because the top 10 is subjective, first of all. I wouldn't even, I mean, the people I care about as comedians, he didn't even talk about.
That's
like,
true.
really. Like Chappelle,
He
Bill
talked about
Burr.
Chappelle.
Like, he did talk about, but he talked about Chappelle with respect. Like, he didn't
this is
shit
what was
on
funny
him.
when he talked about Chappelle. Katt said, he's like, I've walked away from $50 million 4 times.
Oh, yeah. Shut the fuck up, man. No.
I'm sorry. That's such a...
When? This is what I'm saying. What the fuck are y'all talking about? He said so many things that couldn't
be proven or disproven, where it's kind of like, but it was still kind of like, it's something that should be able to be proven, though. Like, if you had a $50 million deal you walked away from 4 times?
Where?
4?
Where?
I walked away.
Like, this is what I'm saying. What the fuck are you talking about? Because he claims that he's able to do movies. Because he also said the thing about, like, oh, I know how to be different characters. I ain't never seen Katt Williams do anything. Maybe, and I'm not familiar with his fucking, like, movie catalog.
The stuff he got the Emmy for at Atlanta. He played, well, no, that was still him. Did you ever see that?
When the fuck was he? I don't even remember when he was in Atlanta. I've seen every episode.
Man.
Which one was that? What happened in the episode?
He had to. It was one that took place like in Atlanta, where I feel like it was maybe, I don't know which season it was, but like Katt Williams was like his uncle or something, and the girlfriend had called. It was this whole situation because it was some crackhead shit, man, because he wouldn't let the girl leave until she gave him back his $50. Like, the woman is still...
I gotta go watch.
It's worth a rewatch. He did a good job, and he earned it. He did a good job, but he wasn't playing like the wacky pimp character. He was playing more of a down and out, like, washed up gangster.
And I'm not even saying Katt Williams can't act. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, I have not
seen The Range.
Seen him do any. I haven't seen The Range. Everything I see him do is either a pimp
He's
or
Jonathan Majors.
I think in First Sunday he was a preacher or some shit. Like,
I saw that one,
which is just an extension of a pimp.
Yeah, it's still the pimp character.
Like, so, like, I never seen him do shit. So, like, that's another thing. Back to the 50 million. And yeah, he's not Jonathan Majors, but that nigga's crazy. Back to the 50 million. Nigga, first of all, I don't even think the reason I got into movies, because I'm pretty sure on movies, niggas is only, I don't know if any actors ever made 50 million for a movie, like one singular movie. So, like,
maybe Will Smith.
I gotta look this up.
I feel like that would have to be someone with an international box office
salary. But even with that being said,
yeah. Oh, you know what? Here's
okay. So
go ahead.
No, okay. So there has been some $100 million, but I don't know.
It wasn't They didn't offer it to Katt Williams. We can all agree on that.
Fuck no, it's Tom Cruise, Will Smith, Robert Downey.
Yeah, people with international.
So then it makes me think, okay, are they talking TV show movie? Because Dave Chappelle,
I think he was just saying words in a row.
It was TV show.
I think that's what Katt Williams was doing. He just said enough words in a row that made sense to him. But this is something really fucked up that he said about Ricky Smiley. I forgot about this. I'm reading, everything I'm reading is from a Vulture article when it comes to these quotes. And he said, quote, I don't know, talking about Ricky Smiley. Quote, I don't know why he would lose a child and come on the air and start lying. That's why people believe in rituals right there.
Yeah, what was that about?
That was fun. That to me, that was the Illuminati bullshit. Because he's like, that's why people believe in rituals right there. So, like that was the part that was, I don't like talk like that. Like, don't bring up the fact that I lost my child and try to make it seem like I sacrificed my child to get this opportunity. That's fucked up.
And this is why I feel like niggas will get slapped in the mouth. Like, you say whatever about me, don't fucking talk about
don't talk about my kids. The fact that, and you want to suggest that I had something to do with that. You know what I mean? To me, that's what he's referencing right there. For people who aren't sure, like, that's why I said that Illuminati shit. He's not talking about just powerful, corrupt people. He's literally talking about some mystical, like, bullshit that, like, people are actually, like, to me, and I don't like that stuff either because it gets into witchcraft. Let me also clear something up too, because you've been, like, for people who just assume because we don't go to church that somehow we're, like, on the side of the occult or witchcraft, we don't I can't speak for TK. I don't believe in that bullshit either. I'm a person of science and reason. So I don't believe in any kind of magic spells or rituals or like that. And that's why this talk upsets me, because I believe Ricky Smiley did lose a child, and that's tragic. And bringing it up in any context other than giving condolences is super fucked up.
Okay, I'll say this. I don't believe in the witchcraft shit or whatever. I do think that there are phenomena in the universe that we have not had the ability to explain yet. I think that,
but that doesn't mean it's magic.
That doesn't mean it's no,
yeah.
Absolutely not. But I think that there is something to being born at a certain time, at a certain place, on a certain day, like how we do the astrology shit.
You're not Aries,
but hold
right?
on. I know. I'm not. I don't. That shit is a fine conversation. I don't subscribe to that shit. What I'm saying is, I do think that there is some type of energy that goes into that, but we just don't have the ability to explain it yet.
So there's no point in talking about it. Like, the same reason the same reason I don't go into talking about black holes. I don't really understand the math and the science around that. There's a way to explain it and talk about it, but I don't think I should because I don't have the expertise. So just saying, like, okay, there's might be something around this, then there's no, until we can find like some falsifiable claims, there's really no point in talking about it for real when there's so many things we could be learning about for real. Like,
well, I think we start getting to that, but to me it falls under the air of like philosophy. Like, we're just talking about it. Like, I think you can't just only hold that to your life and be like, this is exactly how I'm going to live. Like, that doesn't help. That fucks people up worse.
Yeah, I'm not even lightly convinced of anything astrological, because astronomy is so interesting. Like, we could actually learn about the mechanics of the universe instead of how, like, but we can both agree stars are pretty. I think we hit on.
Yeah, but
he flamed Joe Rogan. Did he?
Yeah. He said something about Joe don't want me on the show or something, and I'm just thinking, like, Joe ain't getting you on that motherfucker anyway, so it don't matter.
And he probably would. He's like, and Joe Rogan responded. He said, "I love Katt. He's one of my favorite comics. I'd love to have him on. We talk about him all the time. If he's down, I'll make it happen." Yeah, Joe Rogan don't give a fuck. He has all kind of people talking out. He's another one too that needs way more disclaimers on his show because he has such a wide audience. And of course, people are like, I'm just asking questions. I'm just blah, blah, blah. But it's like, people think that, like, these people you have on know what they're talking about.
What is it with you and disclaimers?
Disclaimers.
Like, that doesn't do shit.
No, it does.
It
does.
No, it doesn't.
It's better than doing
you can
nothing.
Put fair, but you could put based on a true story in big ass, bold ass letters, and people will look at a movie. Yes, it is.
A disclaimer is saying the statements made have
you do not agree with
verified.
The views of what's going on here. Yeah.
That's a disclaimer.
The point I'm making
based on
is
a true story is too much of a blank, because you can say that about so much stuff.
The point I'm making is that people will look at that shit and still roll into the
But not
interview or the movie
everyone.
like
There's
it's
still,
true.
it'll catch enough people that it's the same thing as like putting up a speed limit. Like, no, it won't keep everybody from speeding, but it'll do enough to mitigate damage. I'm not trying to erase problems, I'm trying to mitigate them. So he could do a better job. And I love Joe Rogan. I think he's super funny and I like most of his shows, but sometimes he'll have someone on there who spreads a lot of misinformation that can do a lot of harm. And of course, the disclaimer isn't going to dissuade everybody, but it will give enough people pause to make a difference.
Okay, I agree with you.
Thank y'all. Alrighty. I don't know. That was interesting though, because it was an intersection of Black culture and comedy, which are two of my favorite things to talk about.
Same.
I hope he can get things together because he doesn't. I would. He's saying he's never done hard drugs. I would want his definition of what he thinks hard drugs are.
Well, what kind of drugs do you think would make him do that? Heroin? Cocaine?
I think the first drug he mentioned was meth. So I think that might be it. And perhaps cocaine. I think there's a great deal of cocaine done by people in the industry, sometimes just literally to stay awake. From what I understand, comics have to, they have late nights. Like you said, it was super sweaty. I noticed for people who do a lot of cocaine, they get real sweaty.
You said it was super sweaty. I just said he was moving a lot.
Yeah, both of those things.
When somebody moving a lot, like that shit make me notice, like, why the fuck are you moving so much?
Yeah, it's a little, and it's not just like, because I feel like Chris Rock is a comedian who moves across the stage, but Katt is definitely twitchier.
But not even
I
even
agree
that.
with, but I'm agreeing with you.
Twitchy.
Like he's twitchy, and I get it. It's part of the persona, but I would have a hard time.
It signals like what people talk about body language to me. When people talk about body language, it's like what you're saying doesn't match what your body language is giving.
Yes.
So like, that's why I would roll my eyes. 'Cause I'm like, okay, this nigga's saying this shit, but I'm not believing him, and I don't necessarily know why, but I just don't.
Oh, I don't believe him, and I know exactly why I don't believe him.
Well, yeah, because you fact checked. I didn't get.
I love accuracy. Like, I think it's, especially when it comes to juicy details, because I'm like, okay, before I run with this, let me see what's up. He was definitely right about Steve Harvey being bald.
But this brought me back to what I was saying before. I don't understand the fascination with this episode. Like, I guess you broke it down. You said it was the religious shit and the virtual signaling and
the people. It's celebrity gossip. That's one of the most popular things in human history. Is celebrity gossip. Not just America.
I'm boring.
Human history. Also, he went after Earthquake.
boring.
What did Earthquake do to him?
No, he gave him his props.
He called Earthquake illiterate. That's why he never got anywhere, because he couldn't read the cue cards.
Is that true?
I don't know, but that's a shitty thing to say.
Okay.
It's actually shittier if it's true. I hope it's a lie. But like, if it's true, damn, like that's that's super sad.
How is that rude? No. That's sad, but it don't make it shitty if you can't read and I say you can't read. I'm an asshole because you can't read?
Yes, because you're, like you said, you're an entertainer. If you knew someone you worked with was struggling with literacy and you went on a podcast and put them on blast, that's not cool.
It's not.
Yeah.
But also, I'm tired of, from a certain angle, I'm tired of the air of politeness that we keep fucking like putting out there. We don't have to always be so fucking polite.
I don't think there's anything.
Like,
there's no virtue.
He was given a point.
For one, did Earthquake come after him?
No, but none of these niggas came after Katt directly.
I feel like there's nothing to be gained from like shitting on someone. Like that's not being polite. Like not mentioning like someone's like possible learning disability. Like it's the same thing as like, oh man, this nigga can't even walk. What the fuck? Like that's the thing. Like you don't need to like shit on people because they might not, like you're obviously a very good reader, so there's no reason to shit on people who are bad readers.
He's a comedian. Dave Chappelle just had a whole bit about talking about people with disabilities.
Like I said, that wasn't a specific person. Like, he specifically was like, hey, Earthquake, you don't have shit because you can't read. Like, if he had like, to me, that's not even, like, in the realm of impolite. That was just ugly.
But see, this is the thing. It's not like, I don't know, maybe that's funny to me because it's like, it's sad that he can't read, but he also has the ability to learn how to read. Like, he just has to go put in the work.
You're
like,
right.
Whereas somebody who has,
but neither one of us have ever had to, like, learn how to read as adults. Like, that is difficult.
Yeah, fair.
Like, and like I said, like, I don't want to necessarily judge people for having a hard time doing something I've never had to do before.
Fair. I know that is a curable thing. Possibly. I don't know. Because now, I don't know. Because we don't know what kind of shit we can get into. Because maybe he has, like, I don't know, dyslexia or some type of shit like that. So maybe. Yeah. That could be the case.
Or, like, there's so many things. Like, there's never, like, a positive story behind why somebody was illiterate. Like, I think Miss Pat and Tiffany Haddish were both people who were delayed readers. You know, like, they didn't become literate until, like, kind of later in life. And, like, it wasn't because of happy reasons. You know what I'm saying? There was a decent amount of neglect in their upbringing. So, like, there's never, like, a happy story behind somebody not knowing how to read.
I'm trying to teach a 5-year-old how to read now. It is.
It is. And it's a worthwhile one. But to me, that was something that I don't think it was, like, just this, like, politeness gone too far. Because I generally agree with you. Like, there's a place for the truth. But, you know, and the fact that it wasn't a safe enough space for him to be able to say, like, hey, I struggle with dyslexia. Is there another way for us to do the cue card situation? Or can we change the font on the cue cards? Because sometimes it's not even so much someone's illiterate. Like, certain fonts are easier for people with learning disabilities or ADD to read.
Yeah. Or an own real life situation. Like, I had a situation when I was doing a commercial and I was fucking up on the reading. Obviously, I can read, but I wear glasses, and this was on a teleprompter, and I know how to read off of a teleprompter, but I was further back than I usually would be, and so it was difficult for me to read the shit that was on there. So I mean, it could be a multitude of reasons why he could not have read correctly or whatever the fuck the case was. But he gave him his props on being funny. He said he's funny. Nobody would say he wasn't funny.
Yeah, but that was that was still shitty. It doesn't look like Earthquake has responded, and it sounds like Earthquake's probably doing okay. He tours. I feel like I hear commercials all the time on the radio for Earthquake.
I don't even know who the fuck Earthquake is.
You might know him from song. Of course, he's from, like, an older generation of comics or whatever, but I know you have to be somewhere with one, so we can wrap this up. Thanks for your input. I know you weren't as into it as I was.
I mean, it was fun having this conversation. I just wasn't into, like...
Listen, we're podcasters. We have to talk about what's in the culture. We have to.
No, we don't. This specific podcast is about the Bible, so technically we're only supposed to be talking about that, and as it relates to civilization.
We got around to the Bible a little bit.
Okay, but anywho, be curious, not judgmental.
Your body belongs to you, so be nice to people with it.
biblebreakdownpodcast@gmail.com.
All right, peace.